Okay, guys, this case has been in the news and it's very troubling. According to ABC 7 News and CBS News, an 18-year-old black teenager was detained while riding in the car with his white grandmother. According to ABC 7 News, he was arrested. So, two white women in the car, one black young man, he's 18 years old. His name is Akil. The cop pulled them over, told the young man to get out of the car, put his hand behind his back, put the cuffs on him, put him in the back of the car. He's being questioned by one cop. The other cop is questioning the grandmother and her friend. Paulette Barr, the grandmother, as well as her friend, Sandra Adams. And you can actually hear the disbelief in her voice when she said, "He's my grandson." In today's society, we're living in a blended society. We have all kinds of mixtures in each family. So when you see two white women with a young black teenager, do not assume it's a carjacking, a holdup. That could be a family member. In this case, that's exactly what it was. One of the women is Pauline Barr, his grandmother. The other woman, a friend of Pauline Barr, is Sandra Adams. They both happen to be white women in a car with this black teenager in the back seat. So I guess the officer saw that, assumed that it was a carjacking or some type of robbery. So Officer Patrick Kane pursued their vehicle under that premise. I guess as a grandmother, it would be your worst nightmare. But until you live in a black person's skin, you can't imagine that this happens every single day. Miss Paulette Barr, the grandmother, was so alarmed when she said, "But that's my grandson," in disbelief. She could not believe it was happening because these are the types of stories you read in the news media. You never think it's going to hit home.
Hands up, face away from us. Face away. Go to the sidewalk, face away. Get down on your knees. On your knees. Put your hands up. Don't move. You understand?
So nearly 5 years after this incident happened, it played out in court on Monday, chronicling the chain of events when three people in that car, the grandmother, the friend, as well as this young man, was going to lunch and was stopped by police officers, and Officer Patrick Kane can be seen drawing his revolver. One news outlet said that he was going to lunch. The other one said he was being dropped off at a restaurant because he works there. So I don't know which is actually accurate. So at that point, Akil said that he thought he was going to go to jail for nothing.
So at that point, I thought I was going to go to jail for nothing.
So that was Akil speaking just about how concerned he was that he may end up in jail over nothing. So Officer again said some guy came up to him and told him there was a robbery in progress or some type of carjacking, which he decided to pursue.
So some guy come up to me in his car and said actually there were black guys robbing a lady in this blue Lexus.
So this is what Carter, the grandson, told ABC News.
Like being a black 6-foot man in America, I'm a threat. Like that's just the way I am.
So Carter's attorneys argued that the police officers made an illegal traffic stop because they had no proof a crime was happening. The defense argued that the officers needed to investigate a potential robbery. So after the officers realized that there was a misunderstanding, they let Carter go. But a lot of news outlets said that he was arrested. He wasn't actually arrested, he was detained. So YouTubers, what do you all think? You all think that this police officer pursued the car based on what someone told him, that the car was being carjacked and robbed? Or do you all think it was just profiling, that he saw this young black man in the back of the car with two white women in the front, and assume he was holding them up and there was a carjacking. So drop your comments in the comment section, because when you look at this particular case, it can go either way, because there are scenarios to really substantiate both sides, because we know there are cases where cops profile black men all the time. And then it could be a legit case where maybe a citizen saw a black man going into the car with these two white women and assumed that it was a carjacking or a holdup. And then again, it could have been a citizen who is prejudiced and didn't like to see or don't like to see black and white people together. I mean, it could be three different scenarios. Drop your comments. What do you think?
Come out with your hands up, face away from us. Face away. Go to the sidewalk, face away. Hands up high in the air. Face away from us. Walk to the sidewalk. Look away from us. Backwards to the sound of my voice. Back to our squad. Stop. Get down on your knees. On your knees. Put your hands up. Don't move. You understand? You understand not to move? Is everything okay?
In that moment, you get a real sense that if this 18-year-old had even scratched his nose, he would have gotten shot. That's the severity of what this 18-year-old young man had to go through.
That's your grandson?
Yes.
All right, that's good. Here's the thing. So some guy comes up to me in his car and says, actually there were two black guys lobbying the ladies in this blue Lexus. And I said, what? Where? He's like, he's robbing them right now. And I'm like, which blue Lexus? The one at the light. So I go up, I said, stay here or follow me, and I'm going to go check it out. I had to act. Somebody is telling me.
Okay, but I'm telling you this is my grandson.
Yes, and I know.
This is my best friend. We've known him since he was a baby.
So here we hear the cop telling the woman that some guy told him that there's a carjacking. The guy's at the light with a woman, and he told the guy, well, you can follow me if you want to. And he's explaining to the woman that he has to follow up on these type of leads. If someone tells him there's a carjacking, he's got to follow up on it. And the woman says, I'm telling you, this is my grandson.
All right, and I'm certainly glad that that guy was mistaken or wanted to put me in a proof or something that's not actually occurring. So I apologize. Oh, he's going to be absolutely. So I apologize for that guy not knowing what he was talking about.
I'm sure he got two old white ladies in a car with a black kid and makes an assumption.
Well, he was black as well, so I don't know.
God. Well, then it's even worse.
Let me get your name real quick.
Okay.
Look, he's all good. It's the grandson.
So he yells to the other cop, who is now questioning the grandson in the back seat of the squad car. The grandson has got cuffs on, and the cop yells to the other cop, it's all good, it's her grandson. This is how quickly a person can lose their life. Because if this grandson had acted belligerent and even resisted and said, listen, this is my grandmother, you're not going to put me in no squad car because I'm with my family. If he had even made any type of resistant move, he would have gotten shot, because the cop clearly said, do you understand not to move? He said that twice. And I really understood the severity of what he was trying to portray to this young man. You move and I'm going to shoot you. Period. That's what I gathered from that conversation. But that's just a glimpse of what black men have to face in this society, in this America. That's what black men face every single day. It just so happened that this 18-year-old, it was just his turn, I guess, to feel the brunt of what racism is all about in America when they step out there from the comforts of their home and they go into the larger community, the larger society, and have to face some of these cops who will judge you first and then ask questions later. Now, he didn't pull the car over and ask the women if he knew the young man. He pulled the car over and told the teenager to get out of the car, put your hands up, back up, and do exactly what I say. Do you understand? Exactly what I say. And then put him in a squad car and put cuffs on him, ready to take him down to the station. The grandmother had to convince them. After he backed up, doubled back, and went to the grandmother to question the grandmother, and she was telling him, "That's my grandson. What are you doing? That's my grandson." Then he came up with a flimsy story that he was told by some black guy about a block away that the car was being hijacked, and there's the young man in the car with a white woman. This is what black men faces every single day when they step out their homes, in different scenarios, different forms, not necessarily in the same way, but in different forms, different realities. Thank God this young man was cool, calm, and collected. I have a feeling he learned from all the videos out there what happens if you even flinch, even if you bat an eye, what can happen. So he did exactly what a police officer said he should do. When he said back up, he backed up. I think he said in a certain manner he wanted him to back up, and he did exactly that. But what was so striking to me was when that police officer said, "Do you understand not to move? Do you understand?" Chills went over my body because I understood in that moment what that officer was about to do if that young man had moved. So this case happened a couple of years ago. I believe it was 2018. So the family sued because they did not see a good reason why this young man, 18 years old, was detained. So the case was heard this month, and the jury found that the Wauwatosa police officer didn't violate civil rights of the black teenager during a traffic stop. The jury found that the police officer did not violate the Fourth Amendment rights of the teenager, nor the grandmother and her friend on Tuesday of this month, 2023, when the grand jury ruled. A 7-person jury deliberated 30 minutes during a 2-day trial and delivered a verdict in favor of the officer. The jury was made up of 1 Hispanic and 6 whites. The incident occurred on September the 2nd, 2018, around noon. The Wauwatosa police officer, Patrick Kane, received a report that a black man in a blue Lexus sedan was in the back seat robbing 2 elderly white women. So the police officer located the vehicle with the 3 occupants at a nearby stoplight. And inside were the driver, Sandra Adams, and the front seat passenger, Paulette Barr. Both are white. The back seat passenger was Akil Carter, who is a black teenager and also is Barr's grandson. Barr and Adams had just picked up Carter from his father's house and were on their way to Culver's restaurant. So after the incident, the family decided to sue Kane, the officer, the city of Wauwatosa, and 2 additional officers who were at the scene, and the former police chief. They subsequently dropped all the other officers, also the city, and Kane became the sole defendant in the lawsuit. So their lawyer argued that there's a tendency to want the police officers to act, but it's a very fine line between action and overstepping their powers. She also went on to say that I don't believe the stop had any reasonable suspicion, and certainly not as they continued to detain Mr. Carter. There was no proof that this police officer received a tip from any black man. He did not take down the name of the person, address, or telephone number. So now that story have everybody wondering what was the real motive, the real reason why this police officer stopped this car. Because it doesn't make any sense. If somebody tells you, okay, there's a carjacking, you know there's going to be an investigation. So you want a person's name and number and address before you even proceed. Because you know it's going to come up in the trial or the hearing or the investigation. So you got to tie everything in early on. He didn't take down a name, a number, an address, nothing. If the young man who told him that the car was being hijacked, if he was in a car, he could have taken the license plates and tracked the man that way for further questioning. Why did he believe that there was a carjacking? But nothing. Nobody was able to come up with further information concerning this so-called tipster. In an emergency situation like that, I don't imagine a police officer would actually stand there and write down the tipster's number. But I would think they would snap a picture of the license plates and just, get to chasing this suspected carjacker. So later on, they can bring the man in for questioning if they are trying to formulate a case around the suspected carjacker. So the release of the video cam shows that Carter, who is the grandson of this woman, dressed in a yellow t-shirt and gray shorts. The officer told him to exit the car with his hand up and to face away from the officers as he backed up towards them on the sidewalk. So the officer then tells him, get down on your knee. On your knees. Keep your hands up. Don't move. You understand. That's what the officer said. You understand. And those were the type of statements that if he had moved an inch, I believe he would have gotten shot. One of the white women then came out the car from the passenger side and asked the officers to tell her what's going on. An officer then walked over to the Lexus and asked whether she and the driver are okay. Then the woman said, this is my grandson. Then the other woman who was in the car said, we are on our way home from church to my house. So the police officer said, that's your grandson? And the woman said, yes. So the officer then tells the two women inside the car, the other one who was outside stepped back in the car. So he's telling her that he got a report earlier from a black man that a man came up to him and told him that two black men were robbing a woman in the blue Lexus. So the officer then said, yes, the black man said he's robbing them right now. So that's when the officer said, the blue Lexus? And the man said, yes. So the officer then said he told the man to either stay put or to follow him while he checked out the car. So one of the women said, I'm telling you, he's my grandson. So a lot of people are saying he assumed that it was a carjacking or some type of robbery because it was a young black man, 18-year-old teenager with two white women. So the officer then apologized to the women and said that Carter, the grandson, will be released. So they took him out from the back of the squad car, took the handcuffs off, but at no time did I hear them apologizing to Carter, the person who they perpetrated this wrongful crime on, this assumption that he was a robber or a carjacker. So in the trial, the lawyer for the police officer said the original citizen who reported the incident to the police did not stay in the area as requested by the officers and had yet to be located to get a formal statement. So the lawyer for the police, his name is Delowski, and he said the citizen pulled up to the officer in a car, so the man was driving the car. The cop could have taken his plates and he would have gotten all the information that he needed. So he said the citizen pulled up to the officer in a car and was described by the officer as a black man in his 40s. No one ever called 911 to report the incident. So here you have this supposed black teenager hijacking this car or robbing these two white women, but yet the cop did not report it to 911 for backup. You guys know how they usually do it. They would get on their phones, call it into 911 and set a crime in progress, and then about 6,000 squad cars would show up because it's a crime in progress, especially a carjacking, where a person's or people's life might be in danger. But no, neither one of those officers in the car reported it. Also, during the trial, their lawyer, Zalewski, said that the officers removed their handguns from the holster based on the original information of a possible violent crime robbery in progress, but kept their weapons pointed in a safe direction during the stop. The officers acted professionally during the entire interaction, said their attorney Zalewski. So one of the complaints by the family's lawyer said that they were told to stay in place and wait for another officer to come and speak with them, but they left the area. She further went on to say that when the officers ordered 18-year-old Akil out of the car, they realized how serious it was and that Akil's life was in danger. And the grandma now knows that she really cannot protect her grandson when he's out there in the streets because, look, police officers are supposed to be his protector, but they were the ones who would have killed him if he had made a wrong move. So this incident has really shaken the whole family. So the lawyer, Bert Strand, for the family further went on to say they are going to appeal the case. So YouTubers, drop your comments. Let me know if you think this was a case of racial profiling or did someone actually told the cop that it was a carjacking. I'm over and out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel and to this video. Thank you for watching.